You know, Jerry, it's not too late to change your mind. Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel are right there for the taking if you want to hire them and renege on Mike McCarthy's contract. Because, my God, this decision to keep him on keeps getting worse and worse by the day. Welcome everybody to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared, and I represent the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy and his questionable decision, to say the least, to skip the NFL Combine. We're talking about this team behind me right here, the Dallas Cowboys. You might notice there's 3 helmets on the bottom. Those are some of their Super Bowl appearances back when they were a respectable franchise, as in well before Mike McCarthy came into the fold. Because this decision by McCarthy to skip the NFL Combine in order to increase their efficiency with building this defense makes no sense whatsoever. So Mike McCarthy skipping the Combine, send McCarthy on this decision. Zim and I, Mike Zimmer, the new defensive coordinator after Dan Quinn became the head coach in Washington, will have a full week together here and cover a lot of ground with things we're working on. At the same time, we can still participate in the Combine process and have direct contact through video calls and meetings while having our coaches on the ground there as well. So Mike McCarthy decided to stay home for the NFL Combine and stay in Dallas with Mike Zimmer as they build this defense, even though they could build the defense literally any other week during the offseason. You don't have to build it right then and there. The season doesn't start tomorrow, Mike. You can build it anytime. You're skipping the Combine to build the defense and do something you should have done a long time ago, especially because, number one, you knew Dan Quinn was a coaching candidate ever since last year. I mean, he got an offer from the Denver Broncos. He didn't take it, but he got an offer from Denver last year. You knew he was a top name. Mike Zimmer has been out of the NFL since the end of 2021, so you knew that he was an option, and you could have said, look, if Dan Quinn eventually becomes the head coach, Mike, you're the first guy I want to call. I want you to come on, and you had plenty of time to build this defense, but you're going to skip the NFL Combine to do whatever the heck this is. Plus, on top of this is a chance to network. The NFL Combine is a chance to network with other coaches, potentially. Maybe you talk with a coach, you develop a relationship with them, and maybe a coach gets fired or a coach gets promoted somewhere else. And you think to yourself, oh, I have a vacancy. You know what? This guy impressed me a lot. I like talking to him at the Combine. I want to bring him in for an interview. You lose that opportunity to network at the Combine. You lose that chance to do that, and that's vital. This is almost like outlining for a final in law school versus going to lunch with all the lawyers for a firm that you really want to work for. And the final is in December, and this lunch is in September. I mean, you can outline any other time, but you have a chance to really network and talk with the lawyers at a firm, the higher-ups at a firm that you really want to work for, but now you're going to do that to outline for a final 3 months from now. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, on top of that, you might be saying, well, Mike McCarthy skipped the Combine last year, so it's not really a big deal. He did it last year, and he's going to do it again this year, and it didn't really impact him and the team in the draft process that much. And my rebuttal of that is that makes this decision a million times worse, because did you see that Cowboys draft class last year? Mike McCarthy was not at the Combine last year, so he didn't get to see everyone up close and personal, didn't get to conduct the interviews, didn't get to see those guys with the eye test, which is kind of important. I mean, every other coach is there. Why not McCarthy? And it showed, because the Cowboys draft class was maybe the worst in football during the 2023 season. Yes, I know it's tough to evaluate a draft class and players after 1 year. I know that. I know there are some late bloomers and whatnot, and I know that certain draft classes take years and years before we realize if they're good or not. But the 2023 Cowboys had an abysmal draft class across the board. Mike McCarthy probably should have learned a lesson or two from that and been like, you know what? I wasn't at the Combine last year. Didn't really work out. Maybe I should go this year. Because you look at that draft class. Round 1, they drafted Michigan defensive lineman Mazi Smith. He barely played. He played 28% of snaps. That was a massive position of need for the Cowboys. They drafted defensive lineman in round 1. He doesn't play. He gets 13 tackles all season and just 1 sack. Round number 2, you draft another Michigan man, Michigan tight end Luke Schoonmaker. 8 catches, 65 yards. He was a third-string tight end all season. Round 3, you draft Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshawn. He was on injured reserve the whole year. In his defense, he did look good in the preseason. I will give him a pass. He was on IR. Nothing really you can do about that. I think he could still be a very good player. But still, he didn't play. Round 4, you draft San Jose State defensive lineman Viliami Fehoko. and he played 0 snaps. Knee injury for the second half of the season. First half of the season, he just didn't play. Round 5, you draft North Carolina offensive lineman Austin Richards, played 7% of all snaps, and didn't even play 50% of all the games on the team. Round 6, Southern Miss defensive back Eric Scott. He didn't play. Round 6, you draft Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn. He had a great season. 23 carries, 40 yards, no touchdowns, 1.7 yards per carry. Let me repeat that. 1.7 yards per carry. For some perspective, here's a chart. I plotted every single running back in 2023 to have at least 23 carries like Vaughn did. I looked at their yards per carry average. You see that bar at the very bottom? That's Deuce Vaughn. 1.7 yards per carry. One of just 2 running backs in football to average less than 2 yards a carry, along with Keyshawn Vaughn of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oddly enough, both players with the last name Vaughn. He was dead last in yards per carry. That's abysmal. And then round 7, you draft South Carolina wide receiver Jalen Brooks. 6 catches, 64 yards, played 16% of all snaps. So you drafted 8 guys last year. 3 of them didn't play. Defensively, you got 13 tackles out of it. Offensively, you got 40 rushing yards and 129 receiving yards with no impact whatsoever on the offensive line. And none of your draft picks played more than 28% of their snaps on their side of the ball, whether it's offense or defense. Keep in mind, you did not attend the Combine last year. You didn't get to see the guys up close and personal. And what happened in the end, I don't know, I'm not saying it's the only reason for it, but you definitely have to look at it and say, okay, we did something wrong last year. How do we fix this? Well, you don't fix it by doing the same exact thing and not attending the Combine when the last time you didn't attend the Combine, you put together maybe the worst draft class of any team in 2023. I mean, this is a D-level class, and that's being very, very generous. A D-level class for the Cowboys in 2023 after 1 year. Again, it's early to tell, but you can't be impressed by the production they got out of that draft class with 8 picks. They got nothing out of it. And Mike McCarthy is going to skip the Combine, skip that networking opportunity to just do something that he could do literally any other week. The season is still a long ways away. You don't need to be working with Mike Zimmer on the defense when you can be in Indianapolis, scouting the guys, looking at the guys for yourself. You're not doing that, and it just seems like a very bad decision on paper. Again, Mike McCarthy, I don't know why he was brought back for this season. I thought he should have been fired a long time ago, especially after that debacle against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I'm happy that he's still on. It's more material for me for dumb decisions because he is an absolute goldmine when it comes to that. But it just doesn't make any sense that Mike McCarthy is skipping the NFL Combine when you consider his excuse for it, his reasoning for it, and the awful production he got out of last year's class. But what are your thoughts on Mike McCarthy skipping the Combine? Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's not a big deal? Do you think Mike McCarthy should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys in 2024? Do you think he's a good head coach? Do you think he's the right man for the team? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.